I think a lot of people in like this content strategy world or content writing world, for example, they don't know how to use their skills in a quote unquote different way. Because a lot of it is the same shit.
We've given this example so many times. And I'll give it again.
Yeah.
Right? Erin, Balsa, Blandable, John Bonini, content brands. It doesn't have to get any more complicated than that. Both solving a content problem, similar problem. I'm sure they frame it in different ways. Erin frames the content problem as a bland content problem. John frames the content problem as an undifferentiated content problem, right? So right there, they're being more specific with how they see the problem, how they have framed the problem.
And that has a lot to do with point of view.
100%.
Which comes from experience, by the way, just in case anyone's like, well, how do I develop my point of view? You need to do something so many times that you absolutely hate the status quo and you've come up with a way of thinking about it differently.
It's observation.
It's
right?
observation.
Like it's
pattern
observation.
matching.
Yeah. Most of it is observed, like unpopular, unconventional lens on this for most people. Most of it is observed while you're working for someone else at a company. And you're like, this thing keeps coming up. Yep. Or I'm working at this company and I solved this problem. And when I looked around at all these other companies in our similar category, they all seem to have suffered from the same problem. Maybe that's the thing, right? Like that's generally the epicenter of a point of view.
Yeah. But if we're going to let's take this further. I really like the John versus Erin differentiation here.
Perfect. Yeah.
Because
so
bland to bold, right? So that's their POV and how they frame the problem. But then who and how they solve it is also different. So let's walk us through that really quickly.
Exactly right. So their who is actually largely similar, right? B2B tech companies, and John has also started to sell more into B2B services like in marketing agencies. So you can have a similar who. If there's a lot of people trying to help tech companies, because there's a lot of tech companies.
I hope Series A and Series B, like everyone I know says that.
You can also niche into a more specific tech company. Like we know people that only work with startups. They're like, I only work with seed or A, like those, anything past that. And they're like, not my wheelhouse. Like there becomes a whole new layer of organizational hoopla that I don't want to deal with.
Yeah. And you can also, if you want to here, niche by industry as well, but it's not necessary.
Yeah, you can certainly, like vertical, look, we all think in categories and verticals like that. So I'm not saying it's off the table, but when we think about, okay, here's a specific problem, here's how I have framed it differently or how I have framed it. And so people know that like, all right, I actually don't see our content as all that undifferentiated, but I do see it as bland or vice versa, right? So we can be specific on what the problem is. We can be specific on who we solve it for. Is it tech companies? Is it agencies? Is it a specific slice? Agencies under 1 million, agencies only doing web design, agencies that only do content, whatever, right? There's a million ways to splice this thing up, right? So right there, they have niched into or have become more specific on the problem and person. And then there's the process. The bold content strategy, totally different process, totally different endpoint for Erin compared to becoming a content brand with John.
Yeah.
Totally different systems, totally different. Like, does it get them to the place where they feel as if their content is making a bigger difference in their business? Like the outcome is like they merge at a similar outcome. You're not competing on where they end up. We're looking at this from a lens of, how do I want to get there? What resonates with me?
Right.
Do I feel like I like the bland to bold content system or a content brands system? Like, which one is going to resonate with you? That's the whole thing. So niche down even more specific on the process.
Yep.
Bonus points if you name it.
Okay,
so they're both highly credible. They're both highly credible people. They've both helped dozens, if not hundreds of people at this point.
Yep.
So they're like at that stage, they're going way more on specificity because it's highly defensible.
Yeah. They also have things that they gravitate towards based on their experience. So like, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think John does research reports for people.
Bingo.
But Erin does.
And
right?
I don't think Erin does podcasts in the way that John does.
So the way that Erin helps you be more bold is also wrapped up in her, like she's got a big like pillar research report. Like you need this in order to differentiate. But like she has her point of view on that. And John's like, you want to create undifferentiated content? Everything starts with a point of view on a podcast. Like, right. So how you get there, again, like the outcome might be similar, but they're taking wildly different paths to get there.
Yes.
There's a world where you need both of them, right? But not at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. Right? This is the whole reason I'm saying, like, you must be highly defensible. I think the big aha here is like, I don't see a world. I mean, it's possible, but I think it's very unlikely, very highly improbable that someone is comparing Erin and John in this way, that they're considering hiring both of them and they're not sure which one to choose. And they're thinking, how are they different? There might be someone who goes, there's going to be an intuitive, like the vibe thing. They're going to be like, this stuff feels like it's for me. Like I have been captivated by this point of view. And the level of specificity lands with me. And there's largely very little comparison to be made. It's probably more so, it comes down to a categorical choice. Like if there even is.
I would argue that when it gets closer than that, so pretend that there is a John and Erin, like very much closer competitor. In that scenario, this is where brand really matters. Conditioning the market on your point of view and building likability and trust.
But they're both doing that already.
No, I'm just saying, like, if it was harder to pick apart what's different about them, because it's easy for us to pick it apart, but let's just pretend there's another content brands-ish out there. Like, this is where I really do strongly believe content and brand has a huge impact.
Of course it does.
Because it built, like, people still buy on, like, trust and instinct, even if we can't measure that.
Totally. But here's where you're going with this is exactly the point. That in a world that someone says, all right, there's two content strategists here. Let's say if it is John and Erin, they're going to say, cool, what does Erin do? Like if you're the VP of marketing at a company and you're trying to tell your CEO, hey, we want to hire a content strategist to help us improve this stuff. And they're going to say, cool, what are our options? Well, there's Erin and there's John. Well, what does Erin do? And you tell them exactly what Erin does. And you say, what does John do? And you tell them exactly what that does. They're not going to be like, I don't understand. They're not going to say that. They're going to go, okay, I understand how these two things are completely different. But you're just going to make that process subconsciously versus the alternative, which would be, what does John do? And what does, Bob do? And Bob's a content strategist. John does his content brands. And they're going to go, I don't really know what Bob does. And so it's like, it's much easier for me to make a buying decision because I understand what John does.
Right.
It's so much easier for me to give him the money because it's specific. It's so much easier for us to give him the money because he's highly credible. We know the volume of people he's helped is high enough for us to feel safe giving away the money. So specificity and credibility are the two levers you pull to create defensible differentiation. Anything else might be icing on the cake, but no one's considering the nuts and bolts of all the little shit that goes on inside of the service in the way that I think some people treat differentiation. And especially it is not made on a comparison front. It's largely done subconsciously long before the sale is ever even on the table. Usually it's like they already resonate with John. They might know who Erin is and they're going to go, that's not exactly the way that I want to solve this problem, or I want to become that.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's the whole thing here. It's going to happen, like the consideration and the comparison is going to happen long before the actual sales thing. Like that's, in order to get you over the finish line, specificity, credibility, you become highly defensible, and highly defensible means highly differentiated. Boom. Right on time.
I love it. Right on time. That's how you do it.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.